And Patrick kept saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. I said, don't call me sir. Just do this. And that was it. And you see what he was doing now. He's embraced the city. He lives there. He invests in the city. He's in the community. He's like everybody else, and people love him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty. I thought it was great. It was great for him. It was great for Kansas City. It was great for Lee Steinberg. And I'm glad we got him because I think there's more championships in that young man's future.
Starting your route to retirement.
Hey everybody, I'm Dean Barber, your host of the Guided Retirement Show. My next guest, he's a former NFL football player, two-time Super Bowl champion, played for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Green Bay Packers, the New York Giants, and the Seattle Seahawks. He is Mark Collins, spent some time as a financial advisor, now runs a very successful company called 25 Sports, a super inspiring story all the way from his years in high school through his NFL career, his career in broadcasting, financial services, and now ultimately to his career with 25 Sports. Enjoy my conversation with Mark Collins. Mark, let us, first of all, thank you for being part of the Guided Retirement Show, and it's always an honor to speak with somebody who has worked hard and been successful in life. And of course, professional football is how most people know you, but let's go back before professional football. Let's go back to your youth and take me back into high school. Were you a football star in high school as well?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. Secondly, no, I was born in St. Louis, raised in Southern California. And in high school, I played all three sports, football, baseball, and basketball. And I think I was pretty decent at all three. I thought I was better in baseball, but football just worked out for me. I worked hard to play. Really, I started playing football my sophomore year in high school. And before then, I think I played 1 year of what do you call that? Pee-wee football or whatever, junior All-American football. And I hated it. I couldn't stand it. The contact I just hated every element of it until I got to high school. And I was in my high school football coach was my math teacher. And I told him after, my sister was dating one of the football players. He's come over to our house. And he had a great Letterman's jacket. It was nice. It had the stars and stuff on it. So he was a stud. And I said, man, I would be like him. And then my high school football coach was my math teacher. And I told him, hey, coach, I'm gonna be on your football team, and I'm gonna be a star running back, and I'm gonna wear number 22 because his name is Sammy Parrish, my sister's boyfriend. That was his number. And Coach Tom Hoke, looked at me and said, sure, kid, go sit down. And I went and sat down, and I was humbled because I thought I was okay, but I wasn't that great, I guess. But long story short, I went out for the team, and I was kind of on a cut line, JV, varsity. So they sent me down to JV to practice, for maybe a week. And then injury happened on the varsity level. I came up on varsity and stayed on varsity ever since. And I was starting running back, and 3 years in high school, then got a scholarship to Cal State Fullerton, and the rest is history.
Okay, so Cal State Fullerton. Were you a running back there too?
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't play any defensive back in high school. I mean, at the end of the game, they put the best athletes back there to knock the ball down, whatever. That kind of stuff. But I got recruited out of college as a running back, and I could have went either way. So I go to Fullerton my freshman year, and we had 15 running backs in the running back room, and 8 of those guys were on scholarship. So we're about to start our meeting, and Gene Murphy, our head coach, walked in and said, guys, we got a problem. We need defensive backs. Anybody want to play defensive back? So I looked around, and no one raised their hand. So I raised my hand, and I went from offense to defense and learned how to play defensive back, corner, and started my freshman year after the second or third game of my freshman year, and then had a great second year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, All American, and then got drafted in the second round by the Giants, which is amazing. See, I've always been one of those guys. I'm not afraid of taking advantage of opportunity because that's all you want, right?
Right.
You just want that opportunity to prove that you can do what either some people say you can't do, or just to push yourself to do something different. So, and it worked out well for me.
So let's back up. You get recruited to college to be a running back, but you wind up being a defensive back. So I gotta know, did the time that you spent as a running back understanding the offense and what the offense was trying to do, did that shape the way that you were able to get over to the defensive side? Were you able to read the offense better? Did you know more about what they were trying to do? That give you an advantage, do you think?
Well, a little bit, but not as much as if I would have went from quarterback to safety, yeah, because the quarterback and the safety, they're the same. When I play safety in the pros, I'm basically the quarterback on defense because I see the alignment. I can tell by receiver splits, what's coming. I could move linebackers this way, that way, stuff like that. But as a running back, you're just seeing pretty much the butts of the quarterback and your running back. So you can't really see how the defense they're lining up. But so they're different running backs to defensive backs. But the athleticism could be the same. Body structure, like a receiver kind of type, that really goes over. I mean, you can't put an offensive lineman at corner. You can't put an offensive lineman at safety. But you can put an offensive lineman on the defensive side, defensive line, and they'll do pretty well once they learn the schemes and stuff, which has happened before, and vice versa.
So what you make it sound like, hey, man, I just went in and I played all three sports in high school, decided I could play a little bit more football, got a scholarship, and now I'm a defensive star, get drafted to the NFL. I mean, you make it sound like it was just, oh, yeah, there's no big deal. It was easy. But there had to be struggles here. I mean, because it doesn't just happen, right?
No. I mean, we all struggle. But what I did was I really just just jumped in with both feet. I'm very coachable. I like structure, and I just embraced the challenge. And once you do that, you're good. I mean, I think it made me good rather. And it was tough. I'm not gonna say it was easy, but it's easier when you embrace it. Embrace the bad with the good, and vice versa, because it's going to happen. So I had no problem with it. But once I got the grasp of it, and I studied and worked hard at it, even when the times when there was no one looking, I was still working, and it worked out.
Did you have anybody in, whether it was high school, college, or early years in the pro, is there one person that you could point to that was somebody that helped you stand out, that was maybe a mentor or somebody who helped you see things differently that allowed you to excel at the pace that you did?
No, I mean, just, my parents, my brothers and sisters, we're good together. We're a good family. But as far as a role model and that kind of having an athlete to look up to or something like that, no. I don't know what it was, to be honest with you. I mean, God has helped me a lot, so I must admit to that. But I just went and just did what I did, and it was through the grace of God that got me through a lot of things. But no, I didn't have a mentor. I mean, my family, uncle. But as far as on the sports side, no. But I've always said that, sports is a microcosm of life. You're going to have some ups and downs in sports as you do in life. And it was one of my coaches in State Fullerton used to say when I was a freshman, and it still sticks with me. He says, it's not what happens to you, it's how you handle it. I said, wow, that's bold stuff. And, you look through life now. A lot of people, when something bad happens, they want to blame other people. They want to, it's somebody else's fault. But no matter whose fault it is, it's how you handle it. If you can handle it, adversity or the bad parts of life, you pretty much you'll make it through. If you can't handle it, you won't. You continue to blame people for things that maybe are true or maybe not true. But if you don't handle it properly, you're the idiot trying to chasing your own tail. So.
I love that. And I totally agree with that. It is how you handle any adversity, because we're all going to get something some sort of adversity that's going to face us at some point in our lives. And most of us, multiple times throughout the year, we're going to have adversity. I mean, heck, just look at 2020. I mean, we had, there was no short of adversity throughout the entire world in 2020. But all right, so take me now to, you got drafted to the Giants, and now you're a professional athlete. What was that first year like?
It was at first after you get drafted, there's a big celebration with the family and stuff like that, and it's great. And then got to focus on the job, because now it goes from being a game to a job within a game. So let me back a little bit and I'll tell the rest. The Kansas City Chiefs they called me, invited me to speak to their rookie draft class, Patrick Mahomes year. And I spoke to them. I think they had, and free agents, they had about 26 or 27 guys in the locker room. I got a chance to talk to them. And one of the things I told them was, if you're not prepared to walk into this room and compete and take another man's job, this job isn't for you. Because that's what you're doing. You're walking in and you're competing to take another man's job, their livelihood. It's not personal, it's just business. And I think they got it. Well, back when I got drafted to the Giants, that was my mentality. It wasn't personal. I didn't know anybody on the team, first of all, but I went into New York to the Giants with the sole purpose of, number one, making the roster. Number two, I got to take somebody's job. And that's how I looked at it. And I did the same thing. I walked in, I was very headstrong, and still am to a point. Very confident, still am to a point, to a good, strong point. And very driven. And I did that. I started on that 1986 championship team as a rookie. I played in every game, and I started 10 games in that year. And we won the Super Bowl. But my mindset was just that. My mind was so focused on getting in there, competing and taking somebody's job and contributing. And that's what I did. So, that's the story of it.
That's a storybook life right there. I mean, what, you've been playing football for 8 years and you hit a Super Bowl championship. Wow.
Well, yeah, it's something. I mean,
so I got to go back, because obviously I'm a huge Chiefs fan, and I think Patrick Mahomes is one of the most amazing athletes I've ever seen play the game.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to meet Patrick and talk to him? Have you had any interactions with him?
Oh yeah, I spoke to Patrick his first year doing that meeting, the talk I did with him, and I know his agent, Lee Steinberg. Lee's out here in LA too. So when the Chiefs drafted Patrick, I called Lee and told him, hey, he's in a perfect spot. And I told him, hey, listen, he do the right things. Just be you. Embrace the city will embrace you, and all this stuff. And I told Patrick the same thing. And Patrick kept saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. I said, don't call me sir. Just do this. And that was it. And you see what he was doing now. He's embraced the city. He lives there. He invests in the city. He's in the community. He's like everybody else, and people love him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty. I thought it was great. It was great for him. It was great for Kansas City. It was great for Lee Steinberg. And I'm glad we got him, because I think there's more championships in that young man's future.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, as long as the surrounding cast is there. And, of course, that's an important part of it too, right? I mean, you can be on a Super Bowl team, you can win the Super Bowl, but the thing I love about the real professional athletes is they never say, look what I did. It's always, look what we did, right? Because it takes the entire team, including the coaches, right?
Well, yeah, just as in business, I mean, well, I will get to that later down the road, but it's just like there are some sports that are individual sports. Of course, golf, tennis, yeah, I got it.
Right.
The sports that it's all about me, 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 and there's some me guys on teams too, on football, baseball, basketball teams too, and they may do well individually, but those are the ones who, when the team doesn't do well, they want to blame their teammates if things don't go right. And most of those guys don't have championships. And what they don't understand is that you win championships as a team. And the more you buy into the team and believe into the team and buy into the system, the more opportunities you have by winning championships. So, and I think Kansas City has a great organization, great foundation. And even if, Andy Reid's, they just re-signed him and Veach. They redid their contracts. They'll be there for a while. They'll always have good parts around Patrick Mahomes. No different than when San Francisco had Joe Montana. No different than what Tom Brady had in New England and San Francisco's guys. Well, if you got a good nucleus and a good organization, good program, they're gonna make sure that the train keeps moving forward, and you'll have an opportunity to win more championships.
All right, let's go. I want to know more about your time with the Giants. Of course, I grew up, and a lot of people don't know this, but I grew up into my formidable years down in Dallas, Texas, when Roger Staubach was the quarterback, and they were America's team and all that stuff. And so I was a Cowboys fan, a long, long time. And man, in 1986, when you guys were so good, right? And I was like, man, those Giants are killing me. But talk to us more about your career there and the time that you had on the Giants.
Well, I spent 8 years in New York, and the first 5 years all these are great, no doubt about it. But we strong organization. I was very blessed and fortunate to play for three fantastic organizations: New York, Kansas City, Green Bay. And you talk about those are blue bloods of the NFL. So I was very fortunate. But in New York, it sounds maybe it is biased because I played there and won championships. It's the best city to play in. I'll tell you why. Fans are fans no matter where you go. And I know there's competition between a lot of stadiums and fan base or whatever. But when you win in New York, it's a whole different deal. They still remember. They never forget you when you win. With the Giants who won '86, I still go back. I still go back to New York. I go there twice a year, except 2020, and I still get that free dinners and free beer and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And people and the fans want to talk about the '86 team, the '90 team. They just remember that. And big cities like New York is great, but the organization is fantastic. Juan Tamara, now Tim Mara and the Tisch family owns the team. They were stable. They were very stable. They treated you right. And we have a saying, once a giant, always a giant. That still holds true. Just a fantastic, solid organization. Now, if I were you to compare them to another organization, like I went to Seattle my last year in the league, the structure was awful. And I bet you say the same thing when Cleveland Browns back in the day, whatever. I'll say now more so 5 or 6 years ago than now, but it's just different. Love Kansas City as well, and just fantastic. New York was great. Lawrence Taylor, Phil Simms, Mark Bavaro.
Yeah, that was it.
Harry Carson, a lot of great talent, a lot of great guys, and Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick. Those are probably the two best coaches. 1 and 2. You can flip around the tail of two Bills. They're fantastic people. They knew football inside and out, especially that guy named Bill Belichick.
Oh man, it still does. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So, all right. So you finish up with the Giants, and then you went where?
In Kansas City. I signed in Kansas City the day of the draft in 1994. I was vacillating back and forth between going back to the Giants, and then the way these contracts work out, the team say they want you back, whatever, they leave you hanging. Well, the Giants were about to really do some bad things with on the behalf of me. And I said, I'm gonna skip it. I'll go to Kansas City. Anyway, we already had a deal in Kansas City. And I signed with Kansas City in April '94. And then and the reason I signed with Kansas City is because I was chasing another Super Bowl ring. Because, the year before, '93, Joe Montana took the Chiefs to the AFC Championship game.
Right.
So I'm thinking, well, they were close. I'm going to go there instead of going to Detroit or Tampa, these other teams that they were offering. And Kansas City gave me the most money, and they gave me I thought, the best opportunity to get another ring.
Didn't happen yet, though, did it?
No, though I got one this year for this year's team, but not as a player, as a Chiefs ambassador, which we are part of the organization, so we got a ring as well. But you want that ring as a player,
right?
But I was greedy. I was chasing rings at the time, but we had some good teams back there.
Yeah,
back then.
So you spent 13 years in the NFL, is that right?
Yeah, 13.
And then retired from the NFL.
Well, I after my 3 in Kansas City, I went to Green Bay, tried to get another ring. And we went to the Super Bowl, but we lost that one. And then I retired, and then I come back to California where I lived. And then Dennis Erickson, who's the coach of the Seahawks, called my college coach, him and Gene Murphy. They were good friends. And Gene told Dennis to give me a call because Dennis wanted me to come up there. That's okay. And at first I said, I'm not going. But he made me a financial offer I couldn't refuse. So I went. And we went 8-8. Warren Moon was my teammate then, and the team just wasn't good enough. And then after that, I was done. So then I retired after that. I walked away from the game instead of the game walking away from me, getting kicked out. And that's the best feeling, when you can walk away from a sport.
Did you ever have any major injuries that threatened your career?
No, my worst injury, I fractured my ankle in 1989, and I fractured my scapula in the 1998 season. And I was going to go back for my 14th year in 99, 2000, and just didn't do it. I was done, and I knew it.
Yeah. So were you done with the game mentally, or did you think that from a physical standpoint you were getting too old for the position that you were playing? What was the impetus there?
Well, I felt like that guy. You remember Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
When Forrest Gump was running all over the place and people were following him?
Yeah.
And then when he stopped, and that was it?
Yep.
That was me. I said,
I'm done.
That was it. I'm done. There was no reflecting back. I was done, and I moved on to other things. And
so there you are in your early to mid 30s. 35. Look at that. And okay, look at the career, Super Bowls, an amazing story. What was the next chapter? A guy like you with that kind of experience could probably do whatever you wanted to do. What was the next chapter then for Mark Collins?
Well, the next chapter was to start a family. Did that, and I have 5 great kids. And then in the same time, start a business. Do my after football stuff. I did TV and radio for a good 4 or 5 years. I worked for Sky Sports over in London. Flew over there a few times. I did Super Bowl, I think it was Super Bowl 36, New England and Carolina. I think that was 36. I did the European feed as an analyst for Sky Sports. And then did some radio and TV. And then after a while, that whole landscape changed with these podcasts. And see, I went to school for radio and television communications, and you had to be trained to do stuff like that. Well, when the new wave of internet and all these podcasts and streaming services came out, the landscape changed, because now they're bringing in people who are not trained in communications, and they're bringing people on just for ratings, for clicks or whatever. So I felt, and I missed that. I got bumped from opportunities because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna miss anybody's name. So anyway.
But you know what? In some degrees, Mark, that's made the broadcasting world more entertaining in some instances.
To a point. But that depends on what is entertaining to you. Now, I don't watch reality TV.
I don't either. I don't like it.
Some people do.
Right.
But some people do, which is fine. But all that does is just it waters down true talent. It waters down people who study to be actors, actresses, TV personalities, news anchors, stuff like that. Well, it's just like now. I mean, I know other people with podcasts, but back in the day, you had to be trained to do stuff like this. Now this is easier. It's an easier process, and I get it. We change with the times. But so with me changing with the times back then, what happened to me then? I changed to do other things. So
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay.
You know Joel Goldberg, right? Here in Kansas City. Yeah, so
Yes.
Joel was on our podcast in the last season, and his story is really fascinating because that's what he was studying to be in the communications and sportscaster and all those things. But he's taken that and what is now an era of I can sit down in front of a computer, I can get somebody on a Zoom meeting like what you and I are doing here today, and he's had one heck of a career in that broadcast media, and he's taken the new tools and really taken them to another level. That's what I was saying is it's made it more entertaining. It's more fun. It's more free flow. It's on demand, if you will, as opposed to me having to sit down at a specific time to take in the content that's out there.
Yeah, and right. And Joel, great guy, and he's the voice of the Royals. So. Yeah, that's great. But I know a lot of people who wish they had that. A friend of mine here in San Diego, we did radio together back in the early 2000, late 1998, 99. Joe Tutino. Joe was the voice of the Chargers, and he's changed. He's doing the same thing that Joel Goldberg's doing with the soccer team out here. So
okay.
I get it. You got to make changes. And
sure.
These guys, they're great at it, and
they've got a passion for it, and I think that there's people that take that stuff in, and like I said, the on demand type of thing that you can get from what's happening today. Hey, I'm gonna hop in my car. Man, I missed what Joe Goldberg was saying, or I missed what Mark Collins was saying. I got to finish that story.
Yeah, you got to follow it. It's great.
Yeah, you would think that being able to take our sports stuff in like that, might make our married lives a little better too, but you guys sit around and wife says it's time to have dinner. Okay, let me pause this. We'll sit down and have dinner, as opposed to no, you got to wait for this game to be over. I got to wait for this broadcast to be over. Yeah. So, all right, so let's get into where you are today and what you're doing now with 25 Sports. And so, first of all, people can learn about 25 Sports if you're not familiar with it through a link here to the podcast. But what was your thought process there in helping these young athletes connect with people at the next level? How did you get into that?
Well, what happens in sports? As a former athlete, we're always, and I still get it to this day, but we always coach and we teach on the field techniques with players of all sports, whether it's football, baseball, basketball. That's what former players do, from high school to college to pros. We'll have a camp and just all this other stuff. And I help a lot of my former teammates and friends of the league and college coaches by attending their camps. So, and I looked around and I said, you know what? There's got to be. I'm always thinking business to a point. It's not a bad thing. So I'm going, okay, how we help these kids get in shape and learn terminologies from playbooks and everything. There's got to be a way to help athletes get scholarships. So, because I still get asked, even before I started my business 10 years ago, can you talk to this coach for me for my kid, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I really don't know your kid to vouch for him. And watching video is, I'm not going to sit and evaluate, hours and hours of video when I want to play golf. So,
because golf takes hours and hours.
so, so there's got to be a better way. Me using technology. So I created 2-5 Sports. So what we do at 2-5 Sports is we give every student athlete the opportunity to gain exposure for college scholarships. The athlete will set their profile up on 2-5 Sports, and video, pictures, academics, all the accolades they received. And colleges will look for them based on the criteria the college is set. GPA, sport, position, region, whatever. And we bring them together. Now, I'm just a facilitator. I don't rate players. I don't do all that stuff. 5-star, 4-star. I just bring them together. And I found that to be a much, much needed thing to do. And I get it from parents every day. I mean, because a lot of parents don't know what recruiting is all about. They don't know the process. And should they know about it? Maybe. It'd be nice for them to know, but some parents don't have the time with other things going on. But it's easier for an athlete put their profile together, and the school the coaches put it together. Just like using the internet, what we do on the internet. We look for Amazon, we look for what we want. Okay, you put that in the cart. It's pretty much the same concept with 2-5 Sports. And if a coach likes what he sees on an athlete's profile, that coach will contact that athlete, and I just stand back and tell them to enjoy the connection. And it's pretty cool because I get to go out a lot and talk to a lot of school districts, a lot of high school, talk to a lot of coaches, and it's pretty nice.
That's got to be a lot of fun. You don't know this about me, but I had a brother, still have a brother. He was quarterback for Yale and went on to play over in the European Football League for a few years. He was a player coach. Came back to the United States and wound up coaching for Harvard as a wide receiver coach, and then wound up coaching for Yale. And so he was in that arena, but his deal as a coach was it was mind-boggling, the amount of travel and the time that he had to put in going out and visiting these athletes all around the country and recruiting, right? So had your program 2-5 Sports been around when he was doing that, that had to have made a huge difference in his ability to find the talent that he wanted to recruit people to either Yale or Harvard, whichever school he would have been coached for at the time.
Oh, absolutely. And what works for us is there's a lot of schools, like, for instance, let's say Alabama, University of Alabama, their athletic budget, that's about $85 million. Well, they can still travel all over the place. Maybe not as much during COVID, which COVID has helped us out tremendously, but there are some schools that don't have that budget. Like, we're working with historically Black colleges. They don't have the budget to go out to recruit. Division III schools don't know no scholarships, but they use my services to look for players all over the country, because most of them don't have the budget to go out and look for athletes. Let's say there's a school in South Florida, and they want to travel to see somebody in Seattle, Washington, or the state of Washington. Well, travel, they got to be, they go 2-5 Sports, check the invitation of what they're looking at as information in my website, and put up the players, and they want to look at their video, click a link, and it's there. And they can recruit that way from, their home or their school.
That's awesome. That really is. I mean, so to me, you say I'm always thinking about business. I'm always thinking about business. You're coaching these young athletes, but you're doing more than that. You're connecting them or giving them visibility to be seen by universities across the country in a way that they couldn't do before.
Yeah, I just want to give them the opportunity, because just like myself, and one of the reasons I started my business, because I was overlooked. I was one of those athletes. My senior year in high school, I thought I was good. I was, all conference and all this other stuff. But our team overall, we were just mediocre, if that. And sometimes these bigger colleges, they kind of turn away from programs that don't win much. So we didn't win much, but so the USCs, the UCLAs, the Notre Dames, the Miamis, they didn't look at me. I got looked at by the Cal State Fullertons, which is a fine academic institution, Utah State, Nevada, Las Vegas, Northern Arizona. Those were the only schools that showed interest. So
that didn't turn out too bad for you. You got
but I got opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
And I always say there's a lot of me's out there that need an opportunity. If I could provide that for them, then I think 2-5 Sports is the perfect vehicle to help them.
I think it's incredible what you've done. I'm going to take you back in time a little bit because I want to talk about the time that you spent as a financial advisor, which is what I do. And so, first of all, when you talk about coaching and educating and connecting, that's what I do in my firm here in Kansas City, Barber Financial Group. I mean, we've got a whole team. We've got the CPAs, the estate planning attorneys, the financial planners, the investment experts, the insurance experts, everything. And we bring that all together for the individuals. We kind of do that same type of a thing. You spent some time in the industry that I'm in, and that had to have been after your broadcast, television, radio stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got with Genworth Financial, I want to say 2006, 2007. And
just in time for 2008, the great financial crisis.
Yeah.
Perfect timing, man.
We have more time. I'll tell you the whole story. But I think it was 2006 or 2008 or 9, maybe 10, I forget. And I got my Series 65 license, and it was fun. I mean, I traveled. I was more on the sports entertainment side. You know how it works, and I get to wine and dine with all the people and talk about annuities and all this other stuff, and it was fun. And I traveled a lot, and I brought to Genworth a lot of stuff from the NFL. I think we did the death benefit through Hartford. I forget, and then a lot of other retirement vehicles we did, and that was fun. But I was on the road a lot. I mean, I was on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And and then I had to go to headquarters. I had to check, go to Richmond, I think at least 4 times a year. And I didn't like Richmond.
So how long did you spend in the financial industry then? Was it 3 or 4 years?
Well, before I got with Genworth, I was with Navigator about 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people really appreciate the difficulty of our industry. They and the other thing is, I think that a lot of people think in our industry that every financial advisor is the same as the next financial advisor. Mm-hmm. But you got some experience in that, so that's not the case, right?
That's not the case. No, everybody's different, and I found I still get, like I told you before, if you looked on my LinkedIn profile, you'll see more financial people on my LinkedIn profile than athletes and coaches. But I think that's because of the relationships I built with most of them over the years and still have with them. And it's cool. It's real cool. And there's a kid who I coached when I was when he was a kid. I coached him with my son, football and baseball. His name was Blake Lopez. And he just graduated from the University of Iowa State. So I get a lot of people call. They want to meet and have lunch, and I got some of you, Dean, to be honest with you, because I can't remember to do anything. But they want to pick my brain about what to do, how to get in, and who to talk to, whatever. And I give him my 2 cents. He works for I think Mutual of Omaha. But anyway, they'll call and we'll talk about stuff. But it's a different business now, and you've been in it for longer than I have, so you've seen the changes.
It's been 33 years for me, and no doubt, and there were some things that I noticed in the industry that I didn't like, and so one of the reasons why I started my own company was because I wanted to see things done a little bit differently because, they tell you when you're young, or they tell anybody that they hire, man, this is the greatest industry in the world. You can come in here, you can make a lot of money, you can do it really fast, right? and that whole concept hit me the wrong way. And I was like, well, I mean, that doesn't make any sense, right? If there's that much financial incentive that you make that much money that fast, are we really doing the right thing all the time? And so, I mean, I was young. I was 21 years old when my mentor told me that, and that guy was no longer my mentor after that, because I came back a few days later and I said, you know what? I said, what you said just doesn't make any sense to me. I said, because what I believe is that if I do the right thing for people 100% of the time, I may not make a whole lot of money really fast, but I can build a really good client base that I'm really helping, and over the long haul, I can build an incredible business. And so that's been my philosophy for the 33 years that I've been in this business. I don't care about making money fast. What I care about is making sure that I know my clients so well that everything that I do for them and their interest is always ahead of mine, because I know if they're successful, then ultimately I can be successful on the other side of that.
Well, sure. You're supposed to be a fiduciary of your client. That's first and foremost. But back in the day, as well as I do, that wasn't the case.
It was not the case. The term fiduciary back in the day didn't even exist.
No. But you see it now in commercials a lot now. It's all over the place. No way. But it was a learning experience for me, and I learned a lot by being in the business, the good and the bad.
Yep.
The good with the relationships that I built, and some of the things I've helped the NFL retired players with, setting those guys up with financial stuff. That was fun. That's good. The bad part that I hated about the business, which I've been up for a while, it's cutthroat, man. When a company that like a Genworth, which is nothing now, I do believe.
You're right. It was sold. Yeah.
When they see, I think the financial businesses like that, they're foreseers. They can see the future, I think. So 5 months before the crash happened, they let a lot of people go. And we were humming, we were doing good business-wise. And everyone's going, what the hell's going on? And sure enough,
there it comes.
That market, it just whoosh, it just came. But we were and I'll tell you this story real quick. We were in our meeting room, and they're talking about creating these packages of financial mortgages into investment portals to do this, whatever. And I was like, I'm sitting there and explaining it. And one of the questions I asked was, well, what if people start missing payments? These mortgages, we're not paying that mortgage. Anyway.
Yeah, and the answer? It's collateralized, right? You got the house.
Yeah.
House never goes down in value.
Oh, yeah. It that tanked everything. So anyway.
Well, it's interesting. One of my business partners, Bud Casper, who's a co-host on my radio show, America's Wealth Management Show, back in 2007, he wrote a white paper called When Subprime Goes Prime Time. And so the thesis of the paper was, if this subprime loan issue that's happening leaks into the prime loan market, what's the consequences of that, right? And when we got done doing our research on that, we were like, oh my God, this is the scariest thing we've ever seen. And so in late 2007, we start pulling clients' money out of the market. We're pulling it out there. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, there's something scary is happening, right? And if we're wrong, we might miss a little bit of upside, but if we're right, man, we got to get out of the way. And so we had clients leave us because we were missing some upside, return there in late 2007 and early 2008. And then the bottom fell out of that thing. And, the rest is history. And the people that stayed, they're like, oh my gosh, how could you have seen that? And then, the whole, there was so much greed. And
I saw it. Yeah.
And that I think is the part of our industry that you didn't like. It's the part that I hate. And it is, a lot of times it's the product manufacturer, the company that comes up with these products, just like what you're saying, what Genworth was doing with the collateralized mortgage obligation.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you think? And whose best interest is this, right? Is it the companies? Is it the sales reps? Is it the investor? Whose is it? And you get a lot of conflicts of interest. And so that term fiduciary that you threw out there a few minutes ago, man, you got to be a fiduciary. You got to always put your client's best interest ahead of your own, right? Because if you don't, something's going to wind up happening. It's not going to be a pleasant thing. That's why I love, Mark, what you're doing with 25 Sports now, because look, you're connecting these young athletes with schools across the country. You're giving schools across the country that don't have the recruiting power, the recruiting budgets, the ability to find these athletes that they would have never otherwise had the opportunity to see. So the product that you've put together there, in my opinion, is it's got to be revolutionizing the way that athletes are recruited to college.
Well, I think so. But like, Dean, this has been done before. Like everything else, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to make my wheel or the wheel roll more effectively for everybody else. So if I could give a student athlete or a college opportunity to navigate recruiting easier, seamlessly, that's what I'm trying to do. Am I different from anybody else? Maybe. What makes me different is me, because I think I add credibility to what I do. I validate what I do, and I'm the face of my business. So I'm kind of like a fiduciary to both colleges and student athletes. Without the big monetary upswing, I get it through just by helping people. And at my age, like I told you before, I have no stress. I feel good. I play golf a lot. I enjoy my kids. I enjoy my fun time. And I get to enjoy business because every time I travel, I get to talk to like a superintendent of a school or a high school coach or high school principal. Or then I get to talk to, college coaches who are looking for athletes. Not, from the smallest schools that you never heard of. I get to talk to them and help them out. It's pretty cool to do.
Yeah, but the most important thing you said, you get to help people. You get to help people, and you were there, right? You were there, so you know what's needed.
Yeah, it's cool,
buddy. You got an incredible story. I wish you all the success and everything that you do. I hope you get that golf game down to scratch.
I know. I know. I'm trying.
Well, hopefully you and I can get out and play around sometime.
Well, listen, I'll be here until February. When the snow melts, I'm taking you out for golf.
Let's do it. Well, listen, enjoy the rest of your time in California there, and God bless and best wishes to you and all your success. And thanks for taking time to share your story with our audience here on the Guided Retirement Show.
You're welcome. To you as well, my friend. Be good.
All right, thanks. Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Mark Collins as much as I did. If you're listening to us on podcast, make sure and subscribe, and go ahead and take a minute and give our podcast a rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel and share this with your friends. You can find more information on Mark Collins' company 25 Sports in the show notes. Thanks for joining me on the Guided Retirement Show.
Investment advisory services offered through Barber Financial Group and SEC registered investment advisor.
Starting your route to retirement.